Hi and welcome to the Business Growth Show with your host Darren Graham and Adil Jan. In today's episode, we are going to go through how you can make the most of your pay-per-click campaigns. As you can tell, I'm suffering with a bit of a sore throat today, so I'm going to be interviewing Adil and getting him to tell us how you can make the most of your pay-per-click campaigns from his sort of 10 plus, is it 10, maybe 15 years experience now? 16 years experience of running campaigns from all budgets. So without further ado, how are you, mate?
I'm great, thank you, Darren. I'm looking forward to the podcast. I hope some of the information or the tips I share, they do actually help somebody scale their campaigns. Let's just crack on.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think just to give all the viewers and listeners an idea of what we've put together, we've gone through sort of ideas in our head and common questions that we get asked about campaigns, whether people are looking to scale or looking to start something new or having issues with campaigns, and put them down into questions for me to ask to Adil. So I'm going to just dive straight in, mate, and then if you can, give your thoughts on what you would do in that situation. So first question I've got is, if you're in a really competitive market, but you haven't got the budgets of like the big boys in that industry, how do you get started with a pay-per-click campaign?
It's a tricky question. I think you need, when you start PPC, you need to you need to commit yourself to a certain amount of spend.
Okay.
And I think spend is also important in the industry. However, I do understand not everybody will start a campaign with a £20,000 budget. Let's say that is the normal for the industry. But I will still expect, at least 20% of the budget is still there, maybe about £4,000 or maybe about £5,000, which is 25%.
Yeah.
I will expect that kind of like money to be there to start the campaign. Now that money is still tiny compared to what other people are actually spending. Yeah. In my opinion, I think the basic principles still will remain similar. Okay. You'll be still doing the keyword research. You'll be still looking into the trends the way you will do for anybody.
Yeah.
You'll be still working on competitor research. So you'll be doing all that regardless of how much budget you have or how less budget you have. But what I do think will be a good base to start is you limit the number of keywords you bring in the campaign. So as an example, if the industry has 50 terms, which are the key terms, I'm not going to be able to use it. My budget is about 20%, so I'm going to use maybe 20% of the terms.
Okay.
However, I will like to cover certain terms which bring high traffic, and I will like to keep them broad. So I can learn from it, and I can get data from it, and I can then see if that data gives me more information, tells me where I can spend that £5,000 or £4,000 more, maybe in 4 weeks' time.
So then you would use like a broad match modifier on some of the phrases to not only go after those, but other terms that get triggered by that.
Yes, I will be using the broad match modifier. In some cases, I might even use the broad match.
Okay.
So it really depends, what the strategy will be for the account. But for a £5,000 campaign, which is a kind of like a smaller campaign.
Yeah.
When it comes to the
competitive industry.
I will be looking at a few different options. I'll be looking at long tail searches or long tail keywords. I'll be looking at low search keywords, but then I'll be also looking at the broader keywords, and I will put together a campaign which is a mix of all of that and see where it actually gets me and wait for the data.
So you'd get the data back and kind of refine it based on that. So there might be huge keywords that are expensive but actually are driving in good conversions, and then there's some other like gold nuggets that have been brought up that you've not thought about that are driving in some great traffic as well.
Yeah, I think it's all about data. I think with the campaign structure, you need to make sure your research is solid. You've set up properly, and then after that, I think it's all about using the data to make decisions for the campaign.
Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, question 2 then. If someone has a campaign that's already running, but it's not performing well, what kind of steps should they take, or what steps would you take to look to turn around a campaign?
Quite a lot. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, there is. It's the beauty is when you have the data, you can make so many decisions based on it. Now, there are few things which are smaller. There are few things which will make a huge impact.
Yeah.
However, in my opinion, there are these 3 or 4 things which usually make a lot of impact on the account. Now, leading back to a budget, a smaller budget, which in my case is £5,000 right now.
Yeah.
Let's say you had money. Let's say you spent £5,000.
Yeah.
This month, and then you have the data to see where it's actually been spent.
Yeah.
The first thing I will do is I will look into the search history to see what's been triggered. So as an example, I will expect a PPC campaign to be 85% to 90% relevant traffic and 10% irrelevant traffic.
Okay.
Now, of course, the only way to get 85% to 90% is by actually doing the optimization on weekly basis or fortnightly basis based on whatever data you get back. But that's the ratio I will be, or that's the percentage I'll be looking to work towards. Let's say your campaign, you put together a new campaign where you use the broad match terms, broad modifier terms, and all different kinds of like terms in there. I will be looking at the search history, and if I find that you have, just 60% of relevancy, the first point is to actually just go back and improve that. Add more and more negatives over there. The second, and this does actually, this is crazy how many people actually miss it. £5,000 budget, people forget to check what are they getting per device. So I've taken on campaign where a client has come back and said, look, it's my campaign is not giving me results. I think I've got a poor campaign, and I shouldn't be spending £5,000. I should be spending only £2,000, but I should be getting a similar amount of money. But the amount of agencies, the amount of advertisers forget to look into it in more detail. For me, it will be just deep down to devices, how they are performing. See what's the mobiles bringing back. See what's the desktops bringing back. See what's the tablets bringing back. In Google, fortunately, you have you can put bid modifiers in there. So let's say if something doesn't work somewhere and you want to put a lower bid in there, you can do, or you can reduce the bid by a certain percentage over there.
So that would be like if, for example, you've run the campaign for a month, and then you'd look at devices and go, actually, we've spent £3,000 on desktops and £2,000 on mobile devices, but the mobile devices is where all the conversions have come from.
Yeah, it depends if 1 month data is enough for you. Something like this, I'll be doing it month number 2 or 3 instead. I will be looking into data. I had a client before who quizzed me on these questions, and I've taken his campaign from another agency, and I started working on it. And in week number 2, I found out most of his conversions came from mobile to an extent that 50% of his budget gone towards mobile, and 90% of conversions were coming from mobile. The rest, 10% were coming from tablets and desktops, and we were spending 50% of the budget. Immediately, my first step is to close all of them, or just put them on minus 90% as low as possible, and then push all the money towards mobile. And this is a very small optimization, which once you do, give you a lot better results. And I've seen improvements within 2 weeks. So that's how effective this optimization is. But it's so easily missed because we are so busy in looking at the search volume. We don't look into what's the more drilled data is actually telling you.
So it's a case of looking into it more than just like as an overview. Just to see, we just need to chuck some more keywords in here and see if that helps, or we need to take some keywords away. there's a lot more to it than that you're saying a lot of people don't dive into.
Yeah, I think keywords is one thing. Looking into keyword search data is one thing. I think you need to look a lot more deeper than that. The beauty is AdWords gives you all the data.
Yeah.
The ads will give you all the data, and you can make these decisions. I think it's easier for us to make those decisions as a PPC guy. I rely heavily on it. Coming back to the question again, so I've told you about the search report. I've told you about the devices. I think the third thing which I will look into it will be gender-based improvements. Okay. So many people miss this as well, and this is not a very common step for improving things, but this does actually vary from industry to industry. I had a DIY client, which I worked on, and I found out most of the buyers or most of the traffic is actually male.
Okay, yeah.
But I still found like 70. When I say most, I found 70% of traffic is male dominated.
Okay.
30% traffic is actually female, and then I started looking into CPAs, which is cost per action, and I found the females' cost per conversion was 4 times as high as what it was for male.
Okay.
And then the campaigns were limited by budget, which means, which immediately told me, look, if I actually do not target females, or if I put a high negative bid for them, I might be using more of my budget towards male.
Yeah. And
that will give me better conversions. Now there is a little bit of situation here as well, that Google gives you 3 types of data: unknown, male, and female.
Yeah.
But you can't take action on unknown data because you don't know if it's a male or female.
Yeah.
But you can therefore take, on male or female.
Especially if it's that way inclined and it's really stacked in one way or the other.
Yeah. I think these are the small optimization, but these are very effective optimizations, especially when it comes to crunching the numbers.
Yeah.
As an example, if you have high targets in place, as an example, you need to hit £20 CPA.
Yeah.
No matter what, I think these things will come handy. But yeah, I mean there are many, but I think these are the 3 which I will share first.
Adding into that, something I just thought about. If someone, sort of following on from that question, if someone was struggling with impression share, would that necessarily always be down to budget, or is there other things that could affect the impression share? So impression share, for those that don't know, is let's say there was 1,000 people searching for the key phrase coffee machine, and your impression share was 30%. That means only out of every 1,000 people that search for it, you're only showing up for 300 of those searches. So again, you're not going to get as many clicks and sales and so on. So is that always budget related?
You could do things to improve on impression share, but budget dictates it a lot. If in an industry you have 10,000 searches, 50,000 searches, or whatever, if you haven't got the budget to actually go out for them, you're not going to get there. Impression share is one metric, and you can look into impression share per keyword. You can look into per campaign. You can do a lot more different things, and you can therefore improve your impression share by improving your quality scores, which you can do those bits where your ad will show more up. But I think this is more, in my opinion, it's actually more weighing towards the budget you have in place. Unfortunately, if big players are spending 20k and you've got 5k, you ain't gonna be there just down to your quality scores. You've got to scale it up, and to scale it up means you've got to spend more. That's how you will get your impression share up.
So then one strategy would be to go, right, well, I'm getting good impression shares over here, I'm not getting good impression shares over here, let's focus on these to begin with, and then you can expand the campaign.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the expansion, you will expand the campaign based on which keywords have brought you more sales, but then also what's the impression share of that keywords. So if, as an example, if I have a keyword A which brought me 50% of the sales, but only has 40% of impression share, immediately I should be working on it. That's how I will use that metric towards. I think impression share metric is a metric which many people get it wrong. It's actually good to see where you actually lie, but you need to combine that metric with the number of sales you're getting per keyword. I think that's where it will help you.
Okay, that makes sense. Question 3 is kind of following on from like performance and improving the campaign, and it's one that we've been asked before quite a few times. Is what's one of or some of the best ways to improve your click-through rate with a campaign or an ad? What, from your point of view, how would you go about doing that?
I think the steps I mentioned before, I think they will help. Negative keywords, they will therefore help towards CTR. They will help improve the CTR. You need to check your copy, I will say every 4 weeks. See what's working. You, as a start, you must have 3 to 4 ads per ad group. That's a minimum you should have. And then in there, you'll always find 2 of those ads work better for you. 2 of them are not as good as the other ones. You then need to make a decision which ones are actually bad. And the bad ones you need to pause, rewrite, and test again and again. So it's test and refine.
Yeah.
But then also, you also need to show in your ads what people actually want to hear back from you. As an example, if you sell a coffee machine, and people might actually want to see what coffee machines are rated high, or just as an example, this is a random example. I don't even know if that is a correct example though. But let's say Nescafe is 5-star rated compared to any other coffee machine, and you sell Nescafe. I think you should be buzzing over there when people type for a coffee machine and you're bidding for that generic keyword. You should mention there Nescafe coffee machines here. We are rated 5-star or something like that to help build their confidence. I think that's important.
So if you're bringing in there the sort of USPs of the product, or if they have to like a broad phrase,
entice them to click onto the ad for a right click. So if you give all those USPs, all those trust signals in your ad to people, you will improve your CTR.
That's a really good point. Really good. Okay, so question 4 is probably what we get asked every day. Is at what point should you begin to scale your campaign?
There is no quick answer to it, but I think scaling is something you should be doing after your campaign is hitting ROIs week by week. So let's say, as an example, I have a client who asked me to get 5:1 on his campaign. Let's say I achieve that in week number 6, or week number 8, or whatever. Then all I need to do is monitor that for 3 or 4 weeks just to see if I'm keeping on, if I'm maintaining that, 5:1 return. And then from there I will scale. Scaling is completely up to you, but it is also highly dependent if you're ready to spend more money or more budget, which I think you should, as long as you have it.
As long as you're hitting those targets.
And as long as you're hitting the targets, correct. I think scaling is something which is easier, and I said that in the previous podcast. Scaling is not tougher. I think what's important to know is your numbers, which again we talked about in the last podcast. But I think following on from that, and following on from the points we discussed today, I will treat scaling, I will not put a timeline on the scaling. You can scale the campaign as soon as you start seeing some good pattern on a weekly basis.
You're saying once, let's say you had a target of hitting 5:1, and what you're saying is there, then if you begin to hit that consistently, whether that be for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, or depending on budget, 1, 2, 3 months, once you start to get that consistency of hitting that target, at that point you should start looking to scale.
Absolutely.
And would you, I suppose it depends on the advertiser or the company and how much budget they have, would you sort of go, right, we're going to start off small, so we're going to scale it by 10%, which could be depending on budget, £500 or 5k?
Yeah.
Or would you go, we're gonna jump in with 20-25%, depending on how aggressive they want it to be?
I think that's totally dependent on the returns we're getting back, the profit we are making from the campaign, and what we can afford to do. I think obviously 10% will be the minimum I'll be looking to add back to the campaign. But we can go as high as 50% of the budget.
Oh, okay.
And then see how that performs. But one thing is like anything else, when you put a higher budget in place, you again need to test it.
Yeah.
I think it's all about testing. So you need to make sure you've generated that money from your campaigns to test it.
Okay, that's fine. I think that's everything. And I think we've covered quite a lot there. We've covered, how you can work in a competitive market if you haven't got the budget that the big boys have. And that was kind of to look at different types of keywords that you could go for and test, even with some of the bigger keywords, to see if they were going to deliver you a result, but just maybe pick a handful of those keywords versus, guys spending, silly money can go after pretty much every keyword. And then what not to do. I think there was some really good points there with what to do if your ads aren't performing well. So it's instead of just looking at the top line figures like how many keywords am I showing for, or do I need to reduce some keywords? It's looking at things like devices, where are those devices, which device are they converting on, gender bidding, and looking into things like that, which was really good. And how to improve click-through rates. I think that's it's really good, that is, because if you're getting good conversions and then you can just improve your click-through rate, that's going to completely change the campaign.
Yeah, of course.
So things like looking at which ads were converting best, or getting the best click-through rate, looking at which keywords were getting the best click-through rate, and then optimizing based on that was, for me, really good advice. And then, that age-old question: when do you start scaling, or how do you start scaling? And that is, like you say, finding, understanding what your goal is. I.e., I need to, for every £1 I spend, I need to get £5 back. Once that starts happening consistently, then you can go for it and maybe start out with 10, 15, 20% as an improvement.
Yeah.
But you could have, quite easily go to 50%.
Yeah.
But continue to test to make sure that the increased budget is still giving you that 5-1.
Absolutely.
That makes sure that's really good. Well, thanks for talking for us today.
Thank you, Darren.
Because I can't talk, so thank you.
Well, you said that, but you are doing
it is hard to shut me up, I must say. But no, it's been really useful. I've learned quite a bit today, which has been really useful. So thanks for answering all those questions. If you've got any questions you'd like us to answer, or any topics that you'd like us to talk about, feel free to get in touch at hello@408media.co.uk, or just DM us on Instagram or Twitter. All the details for this will be in the show notes for the vlog or the podcast. And just want to say, really appreciate your time watching and listening to this the Business Growth Show, and we'll see you in the next episode. So thanks again.